Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Sleeping Beauty and other stories. The Well of the World's End. Once upon a time, and a very good time it was, though it wasn't in my time, nor in your time, nor in anyone else's time. There was a girl whose mother had died and her father had married again. And her stepmother hated her because she was more beautiful than herself. She was very cruel to her. She used to make her do all the servants' work and would never let her have any peace. At last, one day, the stepmother thought to get rid of her altogether. She handed her a sieve and said to her, "Go fill it at the well of the world's end and bring it home full, or woe betide you." For she thought she would never be able to find the well of the world's end, and if she did, how could you bring home a sieve full of water? Well, the girl started off and asked everyone to tell her where the well of the world's end, but nobody knew, and she didn't know what to do when a queer little woman, all bent double, told her where it was and how she could get to it. So she did what the old woman told her, and at last arrived at the well of the world's end. But when she dipped the sieve into the cold, cold water, it ran out again. She tried again, but every time it was the same. At last she sat down and cried as if her heart would break. Finally, she heard a croaking voice, and she looked up and saw a great frog with goggle eyes looking at her and speaking to her. "What's the matter, dearie?" it asked. Oh dear, she said. "My stepmother sent me all this way to fill the sieve with water from the well of the world's end, and I can't fill it at all." "Well," said the frog, "if you promise to do whatever I bid you for the whole night long, I'll tell you how to fill it." So the girl agreed, and the frog said, "Stop it with moss and daub it with clay, and then it will carry the water away." And then it gave a hop, skip, and a jump, and went flop into the well of the world's end. So the girl went to look for some moss and lined the bottom of the sieve with it, and over it she put some clay, and then she dipped it into the well of the world's end. And this time the water didn't run out, she turned it away. Just then the frog popped up its head out of the well of the world's end and said, "Remember your promise." "All right," said the girl, for thought she, "what harm can a frog do me?" So when she went back to their stepmother and brought the sieve full of water from the well of the world's end, the stepmother was angry as can be, but said nothing at all. The very evening they heard something tapping at the door low down, and a voice cried out, "Open the door, my honey, my heart. Open the door, my own darling. Mind the words that you and I spoke down in the meadow of the world's end well." "Whatever can that be?" cried out the stepmother, and the girl had to tell her all about it and whatever she promised the frog. "Girls must keep their promises," said the stepmother. "Go and open the door this instant," for she was glad the girl would have to obey a nasty frog. So the girl went and opened the door, and there was the frog from the well of the world's end. And it hopped, and it hopped, and it jumped till it reached the girl, and then it said, "Lift me to your knee, my honey, my heart. Lift me to your knee, my own darling. Remember the words I spoke to you down in the meadow by the world's end well." But the girl didn't like to, till her stepmother said, "Lift up this instant. Girls must keep their promises." So she lifted up the frog onto her lap, and it lay there for a time, till it said, "Give it some supper, my honey, my heart. Give me some supper, my darling. Remember the words you and I spoke in the meadow by the well of the world's end." Well, she didn't mind doing that, so she got a bowl of milk and bread and fed it well. And when the frog finished, it said, "Go with me to my bed, my honey, my heart. Go with me to my bed, and my own darling. Mind you, the words you spoke to me down by the cold well so dreary." But the girl wouldn't do, till her stepmother said, "Do what you promise. Girls must keep their promises. Do what you're bid, or out you go, you and the froggy." So the girl took the frog to her bed and kept it far away from her as she could. Well, just as the day was beginning to break And what should the frog say but, chop off my head, my honey, my heart. Chop off my head, my own darling. Remember the promise you made to me down by the well, so weary. At first the girl wouldn't, for she thought of what the frog had done for her at the well of the world's end. But when the frog said the words over again, she went and took an axe and chopped off its head. Ugh. And lo and behold, there stood there a handsome young prince who told her that he had been enchanted by a wicked spell, and he could never be unspelled till some girl would do his bidding for a whole night and chop off the head of the end of it. The stepmother was surprised indeed when she found out the young prince instead of a nasty frog. She wasn't best pleased, you may be sure, when the prince told her he was going to marry the stepdaughter because she had unspelled him. But married they were, and went away to live in the castle of the king, his father, and all the stepmother had to do was console her was that it was all through her that her stepdaughter was married to a prince. And that is the end of that story. Goodbye.